What's up, Sushi Squad? We are back again with some more Core Keeper, and today's episode might end up being a single player episode. Not necessarily because I'm not playing with my buddy anymore, but something ended up happening, which is both wonderful and very scary at the same time. Me and my friend got addicted to this game. As if it wasn't obvious enough with the whole Let's Play series and everything like that. But I kind of thought that this game was going to be one of those one and done, right? You beat the boss and then you're done with it. Well, my friend ended up, Val, who's been in the other videos, he essentially started doing all the automated stuff, right? Like he started automating drills to gather ore nodes and so on and so forth. And I slowly ended up catching up, but not before I completely redesigned our base. So today is going to be a base tour, yay! And updating you guys on the world and everything that's going on. And then the next episode is probably going to end up being kind of a more standard one, right? So the weird leafy guys that you end up finding in the grass biome can actually drop this. Ignore my cluttered inventory. I've been dealing with automated stuff all day. But anyways, we've got the little shack right here for the NPCs that I have set up. And then I meticulously went and gathered grass blocks so that I could cover our entire island. And it's not an easy feat. It's not a simple right-click swap out, okay? I essentially had to take tons and tons of shovels and I had to destroy our whole island, which was this dirt right here, and replace it with the grass. Yeah, because I really wanted to end up making this place look more lively, and I think that we've done that now, you know, with all these little bushes and stuff that I also stole from the grasslands area way the heck over here. But here's how our area looks over on the map. So it's quite different than it used to be. Lots more water, though. That's most of all because as I was mining all of these grass blocks, up in the other areas and stuff like that, essentially it ended up flooding with water, which is fine because, the water makes it more flowy and makes it feel like it's more alive again. I essentially have all of our bridges and entrances blocked off now because I was getting sick and tired of the maggot enemies. They essentially have a bug right now in the game where the maggots, I think it's a bug anyway from what I've heard, the maggots will spawn out of their biome, even though they're not really supposed to. I don't know, it's weird. But they were going along my paths that essentially ended up destroying all of my torches and junk like that, which will end up going on the minecart in a bit and showing you guys all that stuff. But anyways, got a little bit of a crop here. I'm kind of delaying the inevitable of showing you guys my main house base, but hey, whatever. Got a little fishing pond here, even though I barely mess with the fishing, although I really want to get into it. This essentially is just an Uggles area that I might turn into enemies' farms. I don't know. It's not super important. Here's my 3 deaths. So my 3 tombstones from the 3 times that I died in this series, which I really wish that you could mark these and like type on them, type a secret message or whatever. But anyways, let me show you the old homestead. So this is what it looks like right now. It's kind of plain. I know I shouldn't be saying that, but honestly, if there's one thing that I hope this game slowly ends up adding is more furniture options, because as of right now, it's very, very limited. Now, that said, there's a couple tricks that you can do for furnishing. As you can see over here, I've actually got a pedestal with a cooking pot on top of it that kind of makes it look more like a stove. And then you can end up having a table with some, gruel or cereal or whatever and a doll and junk. These are just little tricks that I'm learning to kind of make the place look a little bit more lively, not to mention, the plants and junk like that. But generally speaking, there's not really that much in terms of furnishing. However, I made this both efficient and aesthetically pleasing, at least as much as I could. So over here is our kitchen area. This is where I've got all my seeds and grass and junk like that. And then over here is where we've got all of the cooked meals and potions for the time being until I end up running out of storage. I do have lamps, as you can see throughout the house, which I have wiring coming from here that actually goes underneath all the blocks. Because one thing that I think is actually really, really cool about this game is that this is going to end up being our base block layer. I'm hungry. And this is going to end up being a wire. So essentially you can plop down a wire onto the base layer and then you can see the wire, right? But if you end up having some flooring, so let's just, I don't know, say that the conveyor belt is a floor plot, whatever, you can essentially end up putting it over the wiring, and then it'll end up covering it up, which is really, really cool. Like, I don't even think Terraria does stuff like that. I mean, Terraria, the wiring is a little bit different, but I think it's kind of neat. It does make it a little bit annoying, because if I ever want to end up changing the wiring, I gotta kind of essentially know where it is, but that's more to the fun to it, right? So this is another weird thing that I found, which is the pine grapple. We found that in the ocean biome the other day, and I don't know, I think that looks pretty good as a little pot here, but I'm not very happy with this hallway or down here. I think everywhere else feels very furnished, but I just don't really have any more random props to fill things up. But over here we've got all of the anvils. The only reason why we have all of these is because maybe at one point we want to end up crafting all of this gear. I want to try this sword out, by the way, because we also have this, which is the dresser. So you can actually use this to aesthetically change any of your slots, including I can make myself look naked. And yes, I made my character bald because I'm bald, okay? Bald power. Represent baldies. And then over here we've got the boat crafter, which I can't really afford these yet. The ore department, I should be okay for the Scarlet Bar, but that's not what we're here for today. Also with our farming, I have set up a hoe and a watering can, and then this random little pedal ring that I ended up finding. I basically put all of those in my inventory when I'm actually in the process of harvesting, and I still gotta gather 3 more plants to fill this up, but I just haven't really spent any time going and doing anything else because I've just been busy dealing with the base and junk. And also, by the way, this pathing is literally just using the hoe on the grass dirt instead of just the normal dirt. You can essentially put plants on all of this stuff, but yeah. And another thing too that I thought was really cool and interesting is this game seems to operate kind of similar to Terraria. I don't know if small chests do this, but big chests at the very least, you can actually use the items from within the chest so long as the chest is close by. So you can see we have ancient gemstone, and the mechanical part is actually being taken out of the chest. I'm so distracted, but I'm just like so excited. I want to show you guys all of this stuff because I pride myself on my building. Okay, once upon a time, you guys probably don't even know, I had a particularly popular Starbound series back when the game barely had any content, and I ended up focusing on building, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed building like medieval style buildings and stuff like that. It's probably my favorite era as far as style is concerned. Now, this game gave me a little bit of trouble because, as you can see, we can't really compensate by having a really pretty roof. I like my roofs, okay? At the same time, I kind of like that I didn't really have to take too much initiative to make this place look pretty. It just kind of looks good automatically. But you can see that because of the simplicity of the building in this game and the fact that we don't have a roof, I kind of had to compensate a little bit. So I had to make the walls a little bit more jagged. I had to put a lot more plants and a lot more ground variation down to kind of make it feel a little bit more interesting. That's my thought process towards it. But anyways, this is going to end up being the big room. So we got our map right here. This is really cool because if somebody ends up joining my world and they use this, they'll essentially get all of the areas that I've discovered on my map. And then over here, I've got all of my building supplies, at least at the moment. I still got to deposit all my wiring and junk like that. And then over here is kind of the more useful stuff. So this is where I'm going to have ore and enemy drops and so on and so forth, outside of some stuff that we need to craft the return teleport thing up there. But anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. The more useful crafting tables are here. So we've got, the main ones that I'm using all the time. I don't know where I'm going to fit the octarine one when we get that, if there even... Oh yeah, there is one. Okay. And then over here, we've kind of got a little bit more of a busy area. It kind of extends out a little bit further than I would like. In fact, I can actually change this right now and just plop that sucker right down there. Normally I had this one down here, but it kind of blended a little too much in the environment. So this, I feel, yeah, that fits a lot better. Obviously the light is kind of a little out of place, but again, there's not much we can do with that. Devs, if you ever end up adding something that you could hang on walls or lights that you could hang on walls, that would be pretty killer. But we got, all our automated stuff here, and this is all powered. Scrap table, I like to keep my scrap tables as common as possible because I'm always using it to repair and junk like that. This is my own personal room. usually what I end up putting here is my grubzuka, which if you guys didn't already see that in previous episodes, essentially what this does is allows you to destroy blocks within the starting biome with ease. It shoots a cannonball that just goes through annihilating everything. And it's really, really cool and efficient for gathering dirt, but also just for terraforming, which is exactly what I ended up using it for, because this whole area normally was all filled up with dirt. But anyways, I also found out that you can paint the chests, and I messed with the painting a little bit, and I think it's really cool that you don't really have to craft more than one paintbrush. You can actually just right click on any of these. You know, normally this chest is green, and then you can just change its color right then and there, which is really, really interesting and cool. The only thing that kind of sucks is that the chest won't actually retain its color. If you end up picking it up, then it's going to end up just going back into a normal green chest. You know, essentially this is the flooring that you can dye or paint as well. There's also going to end up being some walls that you can paint, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. So right here, this is where I got all my dirt and all my you know, wall supplies and junk like that. I got a little overabundance of dirt, but I do use it for a lot of other things. And then here's where I end up putting all of my flooring blocks, which I use these like crazy as well. And you can see this is the grass ground from the forest biome, which is the area where you get the scarlet ore. This is not the grass that we're using right here on the ground. This is a different type of grass that I had to gather locally. It's just, it was really it was difficult because we kind of ran out. There we go, a little bit more for symmetry. So anyway, we walk around this path, and this is going to end up leading us up to the graveyard. And then the other path, of course, is going to lead us back the other way around. I tried my best to use the glowing flowers for natural lighting, because I don't like the idea that we have so many torches all over the ground. Apparently, I'm not this far yet, but apparently my buddy was telling me that in the octarine area, there's actually a block that you can craft that will emit light, and then you can cover it with the floor tiles, as I had mentioned earlier. So that could essentially end up being invisible or hidden lighting, right? Which I think could end up being really, really cool. Why does this spot look so blurry? That's strange. But anyways, moving on down here, this is where we get to some of the ugly stuff. So this structure I'm going to have to replace. I don't really know what I want to end up building here instead. But essentially I was messing with trying to make a smelter, an auto smelter, right? And at the time, I didn't really understand how all of this automated stuff worked. So I was going in here and manually filling all of these up with ore. And then when the ore was finished, it would go down the, you know, down the conveyor belt into the chest that's finally over here. But this is a design that, you know, I've moved on from this. You probably already saw my shorter, quicker tutorial talking about my actual auto smelter, which we'll talk about what's up there in a second. But this essentially is my auto smelter. You can see it's a lot more compact, way more efficient. So I'll probably move this up here so I don't have to walk down here all the time. But this is kind of where I mess with the automated stuff, the redstone, the wiring, whatever. I kind of trial run it here before I put it somewhere else. This is very, very simple. It's a tree farm. So the way that this works is we've got the root plant right here, and then anytime they end up growing any branches, the drill will actually destroy that branch. And the way that the drills work is they actually are also a vacuum, so they'll pull the item through the drill onto the conveyor belt that then ends up going over here, getting grabbed by the arm, and then it gets thrown into this chest, including any root seeds as well. So it's not very fast. Essentially all you would do to make this get more wood would be to just build it longer, build it bigger, you know, build multiple rows of this, or just have it keep extending out. But I wanted to make something really condensed and quick and to the point. These are also the painted walls, by the way. I painted these black just to kind of hide the industrial stuff, but yeah. Anyways, what else can I show you guys? So there's a couple different ways that we can get onto the island and so on and so forth, but generally speaking, I've got 2 rail systems set up. I really like the rail system. Is so handy. So you can start once we've actually built up speed, I can go hands free and we can just leave it. However, if we ever want to change direction, I can hold up right now, and then at the junction we automatically end up taking that next direction. But essentially what I've got the rails set up to is a bunch of different nodes. So we've got tin right here, and then the other spot right over here, we've got some copper. Way further on the line, like all the way down here, we've got some scarlet, which I'll show you guys in a second. And then on the right, we've got a gold node here. And then I was really fortunate to be able to find 3 iron nodes all by each other. So we're swimming in iron. The other resources, we're slowly getting there, but it's not like we need the ore that much. You know, like the tin and junk like that. That's more of a late game thing, where I know for a fact that there's teleporters in this game, but it requires like, I think it requires like every type of ore and a lot of it. So we're kind of getting ready for that, but it's going to be a while before we get to that point, because we still obviously got a lot to do in the forest area and so on and so forth. But you can see this just goes on and on and on and on and on. You can see all these torches up here. So one thing that this game does, which I kind of find a little bit, I find it nice and annoying at the same time, is that blocks don't actually despawn in this game. I wonder if there's a dev command to do it, because I wonder whether or not it's lagging me. I don't think it is, because I think so long as an item is out of the chunk, it's not... Well, no, I was going to say if it's out of the chunk, it's not loaded, but clearly it's loaded, because we've got all this automation going on, and this is working constantly, and it's, you know, constantly gathering the ore. So you can see we've got tons of the scarlet ore now. One thing I did want to show you guys, which I thought was really cool, is essentially, if you ever end up having these nodes close enough to one another, you can just end up having a conveyor belt go all the way over to the other one. So you can see this is kind of the longest conveyor belt I've ever had. I was testing this out to make sure that it works, and yes, indeed, this does actually go all the way over to the other storage unit, which is really cool, because it means that if I end up finding any more scarlet ore, I could end up just connecting it to this one hub. And if I really wanted to, maybe later in the future, it would be really tedious, you could essentially set this up so that these conveyor belts would slowly but surely go all the way back to your main base. What I would love to see in this game is something that would be a lot faster, like maybe industrial piping, so that you could essentially have an arm put an item into that piping, and then it would just shoot all the way across the map, like really fast. So then if we go to the right side of our base, there's a couple more things that I wanted to show you guys. And yes, I meticulously made this do the exact same thing as the other side, where no maggots can end up getting up here. Really annoying, but I kind of had to do it. Oh, there's something I wanted to show you guys right here, actually. So this is a giant mushroom, and you can end up essentially finding 1 to 3 of them in your starting biome, and what they'll end up doing is, if you consume them, they'll give you a permanent amount of max health. There is also going to end up being an amber, I think that's what it's called, and that is actually going to end up being in the stone biome. I haven't found one of those yet. I did find a secret boss, which is very difficult, and we won't be able to fight that today or even for some time. But I got another big mushroom over there. I just wanted to end up eating at least one of them on camera with you guys. The amber item is going to end up being pretty much the same as the mushroom, but instead of giving you your permanent health, it's going to end up giving you more food. So it is pretty cool, but essentially what you can end up doing is, with that grub bazooka, the maggot bazooka that I had mentioned earlier, I used for terraforming, is I can start a new world and just start blasting everything away to try and find more mushrooms to increase our max health. It's kind of stupid, but it's the only real way that you can do it, because it's not like Terraria where you have an overabundance of the health increasing item. So I've been kind of doing that to grind it, to grind more health. And then on top of that, I know I'm stopping here for a little while. I'm most of all just showing you this gold node, so I guess we can move on. On top of that, you can also fight bosses over and over again to get more chests, more double chests in particular, because unfortunately there doesn't seem to be a method for crafting chests that I can find. But anyways, this is my 1, 2, 3 iron nodes, and you can see I sealed it all up because these little idiots will come in here and start attacking my drills. And yeah, I can't stress enough how tedious it was going through and shoveling absolutely everything. But yeah, we'll be able to end up tackling this sometime soon, hopefully. But generally speaking, this area is very deadly and very scary. Also, yes, I'm using my minecarts to travel back to base rather than teleporting. And the reason for that is because I haven't... I've been spending all of my time building. All of this stuff that I'm showing you guys took like over 8 hours worth, maybe even 10 hours worth of just nonstop building and messing around with the building and automating and stuff like that. Whoops. Which was a lot of fun, but I haven't spent any time out farming enemies and junk like that, and so those resources are stretched very, very thin, which includes the ancient gears, which we need in order to end up crafting the item that allows me to teleport back to home base. Oh, and then lastly, just because you'll probably notice this in the next video, my buddy ended up also getting a bunch of these mold rings where the 2-set bonus makes us immune to mold infection. So these are actually crit hit items and they give us more range damage, and then this armor also gives more range damage. I want to end up using melee, but that actually comes in later because there's actually a really, really cool poison melee build that I want to end up working on. However, that's going to end up taking a long time before we can do that because it's very, very tedious and you gotta farm a specific boss over and over again, and it's just but anyways, I just wanted to let you guys know about that before we go into the next episode, because the next episode will probably end up tackling some of the mold dungeons and some of the stuff over in the forest with my buddy, before we hopefully end up getting things set up so that we can start going into the ocean area and start going for the octarine and junk like that. But yeah, anyways, that's going to end up doing it for today's video, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, this is more focused on a base tour and kind of catching you guys up on some things, because I know that these videos kind of were a little bit more rapid fire, and so I kind of felt that it was necessary for me to take a moment to just breathe, talk with you guys, let you know what's going on. Potentially, we could end up doing a full single-player series at one point with this game. I think that would end up being really fun, because then I could kind of walk you guys through more of the steps instead of all of the mega cuts. At the same time, playing through this game single-player, I feel like it would just be the exact same thing, but progression would be a lot slower. Now, the thing is, too, at the moment, only one of my buddies actually has this game. But this game goes up to 8 people, and oh, I just feel like it would be such a blast. Some of my other friends might be getting this game, but generally speaking, it's kind of a weird one, right? Like it's a game very much like Terraria or Stardew Valley and stuff like that. And generally speaking, in my own friend group, there's only like maybe 1 or 2 people I know that are super into Terraria like I am. And even then, most everybody loves Terraria more than I do. Like, Terraria is one of those games where I really enjoy the adventure, and Core Keeper is one of those as well, but I don't know how long the adventure is going to last once we get everything maxed out. That said, there's something about Core Keeper that I find immediately more appealing than a game like Terraria. Like, I've just had such an absolute joy with building my base and messing with the automation and trying to figure it all out. And I think it's because this game makes it very, very approachable. You know, the game's got a huge difficulty spike, but you can kind of compensate with a lot of the gear that you can get. And Terraria, I feel, ends up being a very difficult game, and that's why people end up enjoying it. And the wiring is really, really complex. And I'm not saying that Core Keeper's mechanics won't end up getting more complicated as the game develops more, but I'm just saying that I personally really am enjoying my time with this game right now, and I highly recommend it if you haven't already got this game from watching my other playlists, my other videos, right? Anyways, I don't know. It's like, this game's like $10 and I already got like 20 hours out of it at the current time that I'm recording this video. That's probably at like 50 hours right now, like my friend who's at 50 hours of playing this game nonstop. He's super duper addicted. Anyways, thanks for watching. Smash like, sub for more, buy the merch you want to support the channel, and have a wonderful day, everybody. The next episode's going to be a multiplayer one, and I promise we're going to end up actually progressing.